Welcome to another episode of Clutch Entrepreneurs. Today we got a super special episode, guys. You don't want to miss this one. This episode, guys, we're talking something crazy numbers. We're talking about this guy right here has a company that is closing $650,000 this month. That you didn't hear that wrong. $650 this month. Crazy. You know what? Not only that, but in the next 60 days, they're going to close $1.1 million. What would that do for your life? What would that do for your legacy? $1.1 million. 60 days, all right? And not only that, they're just getting started. They're going to do that every single month is what he told me. And the crazy part is they've only been in this wholesale game for 2.5 years. All right? My guest today, Tony Mont.
Yeah, what's up, brother?
Man, it's been a long time coming, brother.
Yeah, we keep messaging each other. I got to come on the podcast. So, man, I'm super fortunate to be here. I appreciate you having me on.
And likewise, man. I remember the first time that we met was in Milwaukee. We're just talking about this. Y'all were just getting started.
Yep.
I mean, y'all are kind of like an anomaly or whatever you call it. Like, you just started and you were already doing like, I don't remember. Like
it was crazy.
400 in a month.
Yeah. We hit the ground running and kind of made some noise in the industry.
Yeah.
So, you know, me and my business partners, Eric and Shyla Klein, we all come from different industries, have built businesses, very successful. Mm-hmm. So when we jumped into the wholesaling space, I mean, within like 8 months, we were closing almost $500,000 a month in assignment fees.
Crazy.
And that was, you know, when the market was cranking, right? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So, you know, back then, this was, you know, the end of 2021. Mm-hmm. I mean, you could roll out of bed and make 25 grand on a wholesale deal. You know, it was a little easier back then. It got a little tougher with the market shift, but yeah, we started off cranking.
Right. So like, cause I remember hearing those numbers and I was just like, man, am I hearing this right? Like, and I remember just like, that's unheard of.
Yeah.
Like this ain't normal. So guys, like if you're watching this ain't normal. This ain't like a normal thing. So don't think that, you know, you can probably replicate this because this is some crazy shit. I've been in the game 5 years and I still haven't had a month that big. So just to like kind of put it in perspective. But man, we were just talking, man, and I was like, we're talking about mindset, and we were just talking because we just left Wholesaling Live. We're both on stage together. Yep. And I was saying, you were like, man, like people think we're special up here.
Yeah, one of the last times I spoke on stage, that was kind of my message. It just kind of hit me as I was walking up the stairs. Uh-huh. And because I've been in the crowd and I've sat in the back of the room and I've seen very successful people take the stage and see how comfortable they are and hear their numbers, right? Mm-hmm. And I thought, you know, when I had this limited mindset that there was something special about that person. Right. Like there's no way I could ever do that because they had a dad that got them into the industry, or they knew something I didn't know, or they had a drive I didn't have. Yep. So one of the last times I spoke, that was what I opened with. None of you are special. Mm-hmm. I know that because I ain't special. Mm. You know, I come from a crazy past. And it you know, you start thinking that somebody's special, it's going to limit your growth. Yeah. So if everybody's on the same page, everybody starts from the same spot, you know, you can do whatever you want. And that's what's beautiful about this country.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And that's kind of what I do, this right here. Mm-hmm. Because I know a lot of y'all can relate. Like, I'm nothing special. I told y'all I started from landscaping. I was cutting grass, literally zero money, no experience. And I didn't know anything about anything. And I'm here with guys like this, right? And you were telling me, so your superpower, what was it again? You were like, man, they think that we're special, but they don't know where we've been.
Yeah, I mean, so this is kind of my mindset on all of it. Like I grew up in, you know, outside of Chicago, Illinois, and very blue collar family. Okay. You know, my grandparents were immigrants. My dad was a truck driver and worked at a factory his whole life. My mom never graduated high school. She cleaned houses when I was a kid. There was no real education stressed in my family. It was basically like, you know, hopefully you graduate high school, and if you do, grab a hammer and start swinging it. Like you're going to work construction if you want to make decent money. Go to work. But, you know, I had some trials and tribulations in my youth. One of my best friends died when I was 17. It kind of put me in a tailspin, started drinking a lot, doing drugs. And, you know, I drank and did cocaine for, you know, from 17 to 22, pretty much every day, you know, just trying to mask the pain I went through. And it ultimately ended with me getting pinched on a first-degree murder charge. So when I was 22, I got, you know, long story short, I got in a bar fight. ended up, hitting this guy. He fell, he cracked his head. I went to jail, and I was sitting in jail for a few days, and I was like, dang, how come nobody's bailed me out yet? Like, what's going on? I'd been to jail a few times for fights and stuff. I was really reckless back then. And, like Saturday turned to Sunday, Sunday turned to Monday, Monday turned to Tuesday. And finally I call my dad and I'm like, hey, I'm in jail, right? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, well, how come nobody's bailed me out? And he's like, well, the guy you hit was an off-duty police officer and they think he's going to die. Oh, shit. And that's when shit got real. Oh, and my God. So I was in jail for a couple weeks, and then I got bailed out because he was doing better, and then, tried to start my life up again, went back to work, all this stuff. And a couple weeks after that, he died. So now I'm just kind of waiting on what the state's going to do. Are they going to throw the book at me? Are they going to hit me with manslaughter, aggravated battery, whatever? And yeah, a couple weeks after that, I was at work. 20 squad cars pulled up, and I got arrested on first-degree murder charge. Oh, so went back to jail for a little bit, got bailed out again, and then a year and a half later, I had a 2-week trial, a jury trial, and was found not guilty. So I had aggravated battery, I had manslaughter, and I had first-degree murder. So I was facing life in prison. And Jesus. I got probably overcharged because he was a police officer in the town I got arrested in. And it was truly a self-defense case. I didn't start the fight. I didn't want to fight. But after he took a swing at me, I hit him. Unfortunately, he lost his life that night. And I ended up getting acquitted on all charges. So I was a free man when I was, 24 years old. And
so you were in jail for 2 years?
No, I was kind of in and out for a year and a half. I was either in jail or on house arrest during that year and a half waiting my trial.
Okay.
And then when I got, acquitted, I was, I just had a new lease on life. It was like a new beginning, and I didn't want to screw it up. But when you go through something like that, it's not like you just turn your life around the next day. Like I had a lot of demons, I had a lot of guilt, all the stuff I just put my family through. And just like the guilt, not being guilty of the crime, but just the guilt of taking another man's life that I didn't mean to do. Yeah. And when you go through something like that, and every day the paper's putting my picture in the paper saying cop killer and all this stuff, and you see people writing stuff on Facebook and stuff like that didn't even know me, like, this guy should fry and all this stuff. Dang. So it was like it didn't just happen where the trial's over, I'm acquitted, you think like you got this big win. Like I fell into a deep depression for like another year after my trial. And it took me a long time to dig myself out of that, but a big part of getting out of that depression was just picking up and moving to another state. I moved from Chicago out to San Diego, California. And when I look back at my life, like I grew up kind of crazy, and then all that stuff happened. And then I moved to California when I was 25. And when I look back at my life, like my life truly started at 25. Like before that, I was wasting time. There was nothing good coming from my life. And when I hit, San Diego, I remember waking up that next morning after I moved out there. The first night I slept in San Diego, I woke up and I just felt like I could literally do anything. Like I felt invincible. And that's really when my life started. I made a decision right then and there where no matter what it takes, I'm going to be successful. I'm gonna be somebody my dad's gonna be proud of, my family's gonna be proud of, and I don't want them to worry about me anymore. So I made a decision right then and there to do whatever it takes to be successful. And I wrote something like that day in San Diego. I wrote, "You're always one step away from greatness," and I truly believe that. I was like, it's just gonna take one opportunity for me to take off, and that was my mindset there on out.
Wow. Okay. So like that was like a huge turning point for your life. So when you were actually like, was it because that you felt like your life almost was over at one point? Like, cause I couldn't imagine that, bro. Like facing a murder trial, like, or a murder charge where you might lose your life.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so did it come from that? Like a second chance at life?
100%. Yeah, it was rock bottom for me,
Yeah.
you know, and people always ask, you know, how did you get through that? And you can't explain it. It's, you know, whatever is the worst thing that ever happened to you, that's how I felt for a couple of years, you know,
Straight.
whatever your worst moment in your life was how I felt for 2 years straight.
Damn.
So that's the only way I can, you know, anybody can relate to it.
That's so
but
crazy.
you know, yeah, exactly. I got out to San Diego, and it was just such a switch in my mindset of like, you know, the past is the past, and that's the beautiful thing about it is you can't change it.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't got to dwell on it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can live in the present right now and just worry about that, and the future's going to come as long as you live in the present. So that was the turning point for me. But it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. You know, I had, you know, a couple, you know, felony arrests on my record, one of them being murder. So when I got out to San Diego, it was 2008. So the market had just crashed. Mm-hmm. All I knew was construction. I was a residential electrician in Chicago. Mm-hmm. So I was walking on job sites, like just, you know, pay me $10 an hour to sweep floors. And they're like, we're laying people off. Like there was no jobs.
Crazy.
So I was just applying for any job I could to make any money and survive. But once, you know, I would do really good in an interview. And then, you know, once they run my background check, they're like, well, shit, you just got pinched for first degree murder a couple years ago. So we're not going to hire you.
Yeah.
So that kind of defaulted for me to just start scouring Craigslist. And I was like, damn, how can I make money today? Mm-hmm. Like, is there a cash gig out there where I can make $50 or something? Mm-hmm. And I responded to an ad where this guy was starting a bicycle shop at the beach, Pacific Beach. And he's like, I just need somebody to come build 10 bikes every morning and I'll give you $50 cash. And I was like, well, shit, I could do that. Mm-hmm. So I went there. I was the first person there. I was there an hour before they opened. He, you know, did kind of a half-ass interview with me. And then I just kept calling him all day. I'm like, did I get the job? And then finally, like the third time I called him, he's like, are you the dude that was here like before I got here? And I was like, yeah. He goes, yeah, just come in tomorrow. And that's kind of how my journey started in the bike business. I worked for him for, you know, a year and then got equity into that business and then started my own shop a couple years later. And then we came back together and partnered up and opened the biggest bike shop, you know, the highest volume bike shop in San Diego that we operated for, you know, 15 years. Okay. And we went over to China. We started direct importing our own bikes. I was distributing them all up and down the coast out to Arizona. So we had a distribution company, a manufacturing company, and a retail shop. We had 3 retail stores. So grew that business as big as I could. Kind of took 5, you know, got that all kind of running on autopilot. And then for like 5 years, I just kind of hung out and traveled and enjoyed my life. And then COVID hit and made a bunch of money and just kind of realized like I'm kind of done with the bike business. And, you know, one of my best friends, Eric Klein, had heard about wholesaling. He gave me a call. He's like, hey, man, I'm thinking about getting into this wholesaling space where you buy houses over the phone. And you don't even have to buy them. You literally just get a contract signed and then you sell the contract. You can make like 20, 30 grand each. And I'm like, bullshit. You know, I'm like, what? I've never heard nothing like that.
That's crazy. Right?
And he's like, no, dude, I swear there's people doing it. And I was like, is it legal? He's like, yeah. I was like, all right, well, yeah, I'm in, I guess. And he's like, well, let me buy some leads and I'm going to see if I can lock up some deals. If I can, you know, maybe we can team up on it. And he bought some leads. He started locking up some deals. Called me, you know, a couple months later. He's like, hey, you know, Shyla, his wife, he's like, she wants to move to Raleigh, North Carolina. We want to open an office and we want you to be our partner. And I said, say no more, packed my shit and drove from San Diego out to Raleigh.
Crazy, 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 crazy. So before I even ask a question about the wholesale business, I wanted to touch on a point. So like, because it's big, right? Because like, man, you almost lost your life, like for real. Like, and I couldn't even imagine what that fucking shit felt like. Like, god damn, like fuck, a murder charge. Holy shit, I want to knock on wood.
Yeah,
like fuck,
it's
like
made of wood.
Like you don't know what the fuck. Like, oh my god, I can like, I just couldn't imagine that.
Yeah,
that mindset of fear, right? Like, because you're waiting on your fate from another man, like whether you're gonna live or die, pretty much, or rot, or so that's crazy, but. One thing that I've noticed in, because I like to study a lot of successful people, right? Like I really like to on YouTube, I'll watch like biographies, autobiographies, whatever. And there's always like a common denominator is like, there's always one crazy point in somebody's life
Yeah.
where it was like they had to make a decision, or almost like if it was fate, like if it's like kind of like God talking to you, right? Like if you don't change, it's you're done.
Right.
And it's kind of like a common denominator. There's always this one point in their story where it was like a crazy event.
Yes.
It might not have always been like this because yours was kind of like drastic, right?
Yeah.
But there's always something big. It happened in my life. It wasn't as drastic. Oh shit! I've been doing it with this the whole time. God damn it! It's all good. Let's keep going. Anyways, I'm gonna take it off real quick.
Yeah, I was gonna tell you, I didn't.
That's crazy.
It was going too good.
Okay, fuck it, whatever. Okay, just edit that little piece. All right, you got the time?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So there's always one little point, right?
Yeah.
And that happened in my life. It happened in yours. And it's just a common denominator. And I just wanted to touch on that. So guys, you know, like if you're watching, guys, and you're going through something like that, it might be your moment, right? It might be your moment, like where you get to make a decision to change your life. All right. And so I just wanted to touch on that.
Yeah. Well, it's a great point, Clutch, where if you do get a second chance on life, don't fuck it up.
Yeah.
Like usually you don't get a third chance.
Yeah.
Right? You can
Yeah.
fuck up once, but if you do it twice, people are going to lose faith in you. You're going to lose faith in yourself.
Yeah.
You know, nobody's going to give you another chance after that. Maybe, you know, if you believe in God, maybe God won't give you another chance after that. Like if you were tested one time. So I knew that was my test, and I'm not like a religious guy or anything like that, but I believe in a higher power, you know, whether it's the universe or whatever. And I believe that, you know, I did have a second chance for one reason or the other, and I wasn't going to fuck it up. Yeah. Like I'm going to do something with this second chance. And to be honest with you, it was really the driving force for me looking back was my dad. Like he was such a hard worker, and he worked for like 35 years in this factory back home, and he never called in sick once. Damn. Like he had 30 something years of perfect attendance. Like he was a hard worker, right? And he ingrained that in me. And I was always a hard worker, but you know, you splash in, you know, trauma and drugs and all that shit. It got me off, you know, off path. And, you know, when I started in the bike business, I was like, I'm going to fucking blow this thing up. I worked 7 days a week, never took a vacation for like the first 5 years. I didn't even take a big paycheck. Like we were making a lot of money, and I was just reinvesting it back into the business, buying inventory. I'm like, I'm fucking not stopping until I'm a millionaire. And unfortunately, my father passed away about 8 years ago. And, you know, 4 months before he died, you know, he had been retired for a little bit. He got forced into retirement. The factory moved to Mexico. He lost his job. And he didn't, you know, my dad didn't have a lot of money. He was a blue collar guy. And I was starting to make really good money, you know, the year before he passed away. And I was able to buy him a new truck, you know, like 4 months before he died. And that was like a special moment for me where I was like, hey, you know, have this new truck. You don't got to worry about shit. I had it delivered to him as a surprise. And, you know, he was just so proud of me. He's like, damn, I don't got to worry about Tony no more. Like he's buying me a truck. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it made me feel real good, and it was something we could talk about for the last 4 months of his life. And then, you know, life happened again. He had a massive heart attack one day and just fucking died. And so it was a surprise. But I look back at even that, and I'm like, damn, I'm so, you know, fortunate I was able to do that for him.
He was able to see you become a success.
Yes.
Like it was, you're taken care of.
Yes, I'm done. You don't got to worry about me no more, you know? So it was a good feeling. But another weird thing that happened, if we're talking about mindset, was after my dad died, it took me months to get motivated again. And I couldn't figure it out. My business partner was like, dude, what's wrong with you? He's like, you don't have that drive anymore. Like, yeah. And I was like, you know what? It's because I feel like all my success and all my drive and all my motivation was for my dad, and he's not there anymore. And it just was like the wind was taken out of my sails. And I didn't give a fuck if I made another dollar, if I ended up on the streets. Like I didn't give a shit. And it took me a while to switch my mind. And I was like, well, shit, what's your why now? Like, why are you going to work real hard? Why are you going to be successful? Like, if it's not to prove to your dad, what is it for? And it's a unpopular, you know, what I'm going to say is unpopular, but, you know, I do it for myself now. You know, and it's like, as long as I'm not doing it for anybody else, nobody can ever take that motivation away from me. I do it for myself. I do it for my purpose. I now, you know, get to teach wholesaling and dispo to students, and I get to speak on stages and all that. And that brings me purpose and joy. So now all my success is really so I'm fulfilled, which in returns, helps other people. It's kind of a selfish thing, but it does help other people.
No,
so,
I mean, it's necessary.
Yeah, it's just like when you give somebody a gift, it's because it makes you feel good. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but
that's
everybody
true.
wins.
yeah, that's funny. And that's funny that you say that because me and Nico were at CarMax earlier, and we're just walking around. I told everything you just said. Nico, did I not just repeat? He did not just repeat everything I was saying earlier. I pretty much just said everything you just said. So it's funny because, I agree. At the end of the day, man, you got to make yourself happy because if you're not happy, nobody's happy.
Right.
And it's not, I don't think it's a selfish thing, man. It's man, you're living in your purpose, right? And just like you said, if you're not doing it for nobody else, can't nobody take that from you.
Right.
Right. So, I agree with you. And I agree. And I don't think it's selfish, bro. I don't think it's selfish at all. So let's get back to the wholesale. I know this is what y'all are waiting for, right? You're like, JR, how the fuck do we make money? $600,000 in a month, goddamn. All right, I got it for you. Just relax, all right?
Yeah.
So, all right, paint us a story, man. I want to know, okay, so you get to Raleigh, right? It's you and Eric.
Yep.
How does this look, man? First day on the job, what does this look like?
Yeah, so Eric, it took me 2 weeks to drive out to Raleigh. I was stopping and seeing friends along the way. I was taking my time, and I was listening to, Real Estate Disruptors, the podcast, and I was watching Jerry Norton videos on YouTube.
Yeah.
And Eric had sent me a couple of recordings of him locking up deals, so I was trying to, understand the pitch and all that. So you
were going to do acquisitions?
Yeah, well, we didn't have a
know
clue what we were going to do.
Going on? Okay,
we had no structure, no plan.
You.
It was just let's just start this business, see what happens.
I got you.
So I get out to Raleigh. It was May of 2021, and I sit in the office for 2 days, and I'm just listening to Eric pitch. I'm reading the script. I'm trying to get used to the CRM, and then So I did 2 days of that. Went home that second day, and I just meditated on it. And I was like, all right, I'm going to hop on the phones tomorrow. I've never sold anything over the phone. I've sold 50,000 bikes in person, but I've never sold anything over the phone, right?
50,000 bikes.
Yeah, we did 50,000 bikes in 15 years. Yeah.
Crazy.
So I'm watching Eric and all that. I go home, I meditate on it, and I just go through the calls as I'm meditating. And I'm having full conversations in my mind. I'm sitting there in silence, my eyes are closed, and I'm having these conversations. I'm hearing objections, I'm saying the rebuttals, and I'm really deep into this meditation. And I opened my eyes, and I was it just clicked, and I was like, I'm getting a deal tomorrow. I fucking knew it. I knew this table was here. I knew I was getting a deal the next day.
Shit.
So I went to bed, slept fine, woke up the next day, went to the office, and walked into Eric's office, and I was like, I'm just gonna hop on the phones, dude. I'm gonna get a deal today. He's like, all right, go ahead. So I went in my office. First lead I clicked on, called that guy, talked to him for 30 minutes, and got him under contract. The first call I ever made in wholesaling, I got a contract. And we ended up making $8 or $9 grand on that deal. It got disposed.
Wait, did you get the first deal?
Eric had been locking up deals.
Okay.
But yeah, the first call I ever made, I got that deal under contract. The first call I've ever made in wholesaling, I got a contract
That's
signed,
wild.
which is nuts. I don't talk about that much. I should. But yeah, I just, I stuck to the script. I built some rapport and got a contract signed. And after that, we were all stoked about it. I was like, this shit's easy. But Eric Klein's my business partner. There's no need for me to handle any acquisitions. He's got it, right? He's the sales goat. So after that, we were using a company to dispo our deals, and that's kind of how we were set up in the beginning. And we just made a decision. I'm like, well, why don't I just dispo deals then? I'll figure that part of the business out. So then I spent the next few months figuring that out until we, started dispoing all of our deals in house. That was probably 3 months in or something.
And it's just you two?
It was us two at first, and then Shyla came I think she came a month and a half later, and she does all the admin stuff, all the transactions, all that. It's Eric
Y'all
does
just selling and selling.
That's it. So Eric does acquisitions, I do dispo, Shyla handles literally everything else. I mean, if it wasn't for her, we'd be fine.
Interesting.
Yeah, so she's the backbone of our business, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and you have two psychopaths fucking running around on sales floor. You need a Shyla to bring us in and have a structured business and have a voice of reason, So that's how it was set up. And then, within a few months, we hired a couple acquisitions. And then once they were trained up and I started getting a little overwhelmed with deals, I hired a dispo person. And it's just been kind of a slow burn up until this point. And now we're 2.5 years in. We have 6 closers, 3 dispo. We have a dispo assistant, a lead manager, a closing coordinator, a TC. So
how many acquisitions you got now?
We got 6 acquisitions. We got 3 dispo.
Okay.
We have a lead manager for acquisitions. We have a dispo assistant and dispo. Okay. We have a transaction coordinator. We have a closing coordinator. Okay. So that's kind of how we're set up right now.
So what do you and Eric do now?
Dude, we are on the sales floor all day, every day, training with our team, taking over calls, running comps. Like, we're in the mud still.
Every day?
Every day.
So y'all are the generals.
We are.
But you just handle dispo and he just handles acquisitions.
Yeah. I mean, for the most part, for me, I like being very busy. So I'm in the middle of the office. I stand right in front of dispo. I got a stand-up desk there. I don't even have a chair in my office. I never sit down. And I'm like helping running comps. I'm auditing dispo deals. Acquisitions needs help with a deal. I'm running over there. Transactions needs help with a seller trying to back out. I'm running over there and hopping on the phones. So I like handling a lot of stuff and I like to learn. So I want to know every aspect of this business so I can help everybody.
Right.
But my main job is to run the dispo department. That's the process I created, and that's mostly the training I do is with my dispo team.
So you're like a floor general?
Yeah.
Okay, I want to know though, when it was just you and Eric and Shyla,
Yep.
What was y'all's volume looking like right there before you hired anybody?
Yeah, we were doing like 10 deals.
10 fucking deals?
Yeah.
By just you and Eric?
Yeah, well, Eric was locking them all up. He was doing he was getting like 10 contracts a month, and our cancellation rate back then was like 30% or something. So we were probably, getting rid of, 7 of them or something. Wow. So we had hit, I believe we hit 6 figures before we hired anybody. 6 figures in a month before we hired anybody.
Damn.
Yeah.
So he really is the sales goat.
He is, dude. And it's, and I don't take that shit for granted. Like, I know how fortunate I am to have somebody like Eric in, as a business partner, as a friend, to be able to fucking, give me that amount of volume that I get to dispo those deals,
dispo that,
right? And it
big
helped,
fat spreads.
And it helped me get really refined with the process and really efficient with it, because when you have somebody like Eric locking up that many deals, you better learn how to fucking get rid of them real fast,
right?
Because the pipeline ain't drying up.
Yeah,
you're just gonna get more and more.
Yeah, you better learn how to handle that.
Learn how to handle that. Come up with a good, efficient process to get rid of these deals.
Let me ask you something. So, y'all are scaling. You got a bunch of people now. What's been your experience on training somebody to replace you? Like replacing someone like Eric, replacing someone like yourself. Yeah. What has been your experience in that, and how do you overcome it?
We've done a horrible job of it. Like, we have done a horrible job of finding and hiring leaders in the company. Like, we just have not done a good job at it. We've hired the wrong people to manage, and they haven't worked out. There hasn't been, somebody that we really truly just decided to bring up and put as a lead of the department yet. And I think we're our own kind of worst enemy in that sense. Like, I hate to say we're kind of control freaks, both of us, but we love what we're doing. We love being on the floor, but we know it's stunning our growth. Like, we're not best, suited to be on the floor and in the business and taking over phone calls all day. Like, we need to work on the business, not in the business, like everybody says, and we just haven't done that. So I think we're getting in our own way there. But right now, I mean, if anybody's watching this podcast, we are looking for a very qualified sales manager to come into our office and take a lot of that stuff off our plate, because there's a ton of room for growth. And when you spend your whole day, on the phones and running comps and doing all that stuff, you can only grow so much. There's nobody that's ever going to replace an Eric Klein, but we do have to find somebody that can take most of that off of our plate. Not that we're going to get out of the business, go to the beach, but we're going to still, obviously we're the first ones there, the last ones to leave still. But we just need to we need to sit back, look at the business as a whole, and grow it. So we can continue to scale. Because right now we're kind of stumped.
So, but what's your problem though? Like, why do you think that you can't find that person? Is it your hiring, or like, what do you think?
It's our hiring. It's our hiring process. I think we just haven't done a good job of it, and just putting trust in somebody. And it's just, I don't know, for one reason or the other, we just haven't been good at it. We're good at hiring and training a sales team. Maybe we're not great at hiring, training, and trusting in a sales manager. We just haven't done a good job of it.
Okay.
But it's something that now, we're working on. Now we got assessment tests and had somebody help us with the job posting and all that. And we're just looking for really qualified people to step in and pay them really well and take that over. So that's been the biggest problem for us. But it's easily solvable. We just gotta find the right person.
Okay. So you are lead of the dispo. That's your position, right?
Yeah.
Like that's your half of the business, right?
Yes.
Dispo. So let's talk a little bit about dispo, and let's give some people some nuggets.
Yeah.
I mean, you're dispoing $1 million in 60 days. So you're doing something right. What does a typical day in your side of the business look like?
Yeah. So, I mean, typically, a deal comes over from acquisitions. Our TC, schedules photos of it. We get really good photos of the property. I don't care if it costs $200. We want good pictures because, I'm on a lot of people's buyers list, and I get a lot of deals sent to me, and I see these shitty cell phone pictures, close-ups of windows and shit, and you don't get a real sense of the property.
Oh, you just dropped the gem.
And you just delete those, right? You don't even look at them.
Right,
You're like,
right.
I can't even tell what this is.
What it is, yeah.
So you need. It's so important. You need good photos of the property.
Do you have a process for that?
Yeah, I mean, we just hire it out. So TC has a list of photographers in all of our markets that we've used. And right when we get the contract, she schedules, a professional photographer to go out there and take really good photos. I mean, sometimes it costs, $70. Sometimes it costs $200, depending on where you're at. Mm-hmm. But now you can put together a really good listing where it's appealing to a buyer and they'll actually click on it and look at it. I always, I always say this, like if you were shopping for a 1997 Honda Civic, okay, and you're on Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist, and you have two identical stats on two Honda Civics, and one of them's got 180,000 miles and one has 100,000 miles on it, and the one with 100,000 miles on it, there's two shitty grainy photos of it, and the other one with more miles on it has 20 high resolution pictures of it. There's a video walkthrough of it running. There's somebody going in and out of it. You're way more likely to buy that car, even though it has more miles on it, because you have a good vision of it, right? So like the photos, first and foremost, people screw that up all the time, and it's something so simple that you shouldn't be screwing up. You talk to Robert Wensley, he'll tell you first thing, all these deals on Investor Lift that they sell, if you look at the data, the ones that sell faster and for more money are good photos taken of the property or video walkthroughs. It's very important. It's something people don't think of. Another thing with the photos too, so the deal comes over, the sellers told us everything. We have a list of all the details and the condition. But now that we have photos of it, we can look at every single room and see the true condition of the property. So now we can see what we thought the rehab was going to be, but now we know what the true rehab is going to be, knowing that we got these photos and we know the true condition of it. So we'll rerun comps in Dispo. We'll make sure the numbers still work. And if they don't, we'll call the seller right then and there and be like, hey, we didn't know this, that, and the other about the property. We're going to have to be at this price. So we can kind of nip that in the bud in the beginning. So we're sending these deals out at a correct price that makes sense for our buyer. So our dispo team runs their own comps, makes sure the deal still makes sense at that number. Now that we got photos, they put a listing together with all the comps, everything they need, and they send the deal out to our VIPs the first day. We give our VIPs 24 hours to put bids in on it. If they don't want it, we send it out on Investor Lift to all the emails on there on the second day. The third day, we call and text all the cash comps that we pulled for that property off of PropStream. So my dispo assistant will pull 20 cash buyers for that property in that area and put them in our CRM so we can cold call all those buyers. We have all that information in our CRM off the rip, and we cold call it, we text it. So now 3 days in, we send it to our VIPs. We send it on Investor. If we cold called on it, we texted on it. If still we're not getting any traction on it, day 4, we'll list it on the flat fee MLS. So we're hitting this thing the first week where it's going to hit so many buyers. It can't help but get attention and get walkthroughs done on it. So that's like the first week of our process.
Jeez, damn, guys, that's a gem right there. Like I learned some shit. Damn. Okay, so my pictures are getting better starting Monday.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna have to do something with that. But damn.
Let me give a little nugget too.
Okay.
So like on prop stream, most people are going to go in there. It's a sniper approach. We're going to see who bought cash in that neighborhood, right? And most people, so it already gives you a year back, right?
Prop stream?
Prop stream.
Okay.
Or any platform you use for cash buyers, right?
Okay.
So it automatically filters a year back and a half mile out, right? So that might give you, say it gives you 4 cash buyers or something. What people are more inclined to do is go out wider before they go deeper. So they're going to go 2 miles out, 3 miles out to get more cash buyers. But what we do, what I started implementing like a year ago, is we go 3 years back. Because you start going wider before you go deeper, you're going to start hitting other neighborhoods with different styles of properties and all that, different year builds, all that stuff, different price points. So we want to go deep in our neighborhood. Who's bought cash in the last 3 years in this neighborhood? Are they a buy and hold guy? You know, whatever it is. And we pull all that data. We skip it. We manually skip the LLCs, and then we throw that in the CRM. So now our dispo agent has 20 to 25 cash buyer phone numbers that they can rip through, cold call, and text about this property that we have.
Wow.
So that's something we do. And then the other thing that I mentioned was the flat fee MLS. We get a pre-marketing clause and an attorney in fact signed in our purchase agreement with the seller right off the rip. So when we're on day 4 of our dispo process, we don't have to call them back, get any other documents signed. We already have all that stuff signed, so we can list it on the flat fee MLS as a wholesale deal. It's not a novation. It's just a marketing strategy to find more cash buyers.
Really? What's the difference then? What's the difference between a novation and that?
So if you're novating it, you can find a buyer that's using a lender, stuff like that.
So yours just has to be cash.
Ours just has to be cash. You're just using the MLS as a marketing strategy to find cash buyers.
Damn.
A lot of times you'll find cash buyers on there, investors, and a lot of times you're going to find an agent that works with cash buyers. And if they work with one, they usually work with 5 to 10. So now you're gaining a lot of relationships with your agents in the area. And not only that, instead of making outbound calls for dispo, now the phone's ringing off the hook because most of your properties are on the MLS. We got agents calling all day, every day. We get 200 inbound calls from agents every single day from deals we have on the MLS. So we spend all of our day in dispo outreach to agents and buyers and all that. Now, with all of our deals on the MLS, these motherfuckers are calling us wanting our deals. So it's like a PPC lead.
Is this a new thing
for dispo?
you're doing?
We've been doing it almost a year now. Like with the market shift, it's something I came up with, to do on all of our deals. And like, I'm kind of known as this flat fee MLS guy now because I talk about it so much. But it literally has changed people's lives when I talk about it because they go, shit, I didn't know you could do that.
I didn't know you can do that.
And now that people are doing it, they're making more money than ever. So it's a great strategy. And what better marketing strategy than the MLS when you're looking for buyers? There's no bigger buyer pool out there.
Absolutely. And guys, like he just dropped an atomic bomb. And you're saying that this attorney in fact, that's all in your initial contract.
It's all in the contract.
So like you don't even have to go back and say, hey, by the way, It's just all there up front.
It's all up front. We explain it to them. So when we hit our process, we can list it without asking.
Oh, okay. I got a question for you though.
Yep.
Okay, so let's just say you call Mary Sue. Mary Sue, we're gonna buy your house for $90,000 cash, right? And then her friend calls her and says, "Hey, are you selling? I thought you said we were only selling it for $90. Why is it on the market right now for $130?"
Yeah.
What do you tell Mary Sue when she calls you?
Hey, Mary Sue, I totally get it. I understand the confusion there. You got to look at your listing. This is a pre-marketing clause in our contract where we're listing your property. That number you see is like a coming soon, right? We're still closing on your property in less than 30 days for $90,000 cash, but I'm trying to find an end buyer for this property. It's making our process a little more efficient. We do 50 deals a month. If I had to wait till the day we close on this thing to start marketing it, I would get bottlenecked. So I'm just trying to get ahead of this thing where I'm going to ultimately sell your house for 120 or more. I want to find an end buyer that's interested in it. So he's going to tell me the necessary repairs and updates I need to do after I buy it cash, so I can then sell it to that end buyer for the 120. So it might seem like I'm making 30 grand on this thing. I got to pay all the closing costs, commissions 2 times. I got to put money into this thing. I might make 5 grand on this property. I'm just trying to get a head start on it. So that's something I came up with on the fly when I had that objection.
Yeah.
And the seller was like, all right, that makes sense.
It does make sense.
And it's a coming soon. I'm going to have it on the MLS for a few days. As soon as I find a buyer for it, I'm going to take it down. So it's only going to be up there for a few days.
And is that true?
Yeah.
Oh, so you don't close it on the MLS?
No. I mean,
You pull it
unless
off.
an agent's involved and their broker makes them do that. But if it's a buyer or an agent that isn't requiring that, we take it down.
Oh.
Yeah. So it's sometimes only up there for a few days.
And do you still have to pay the $150?
Yeah. It's only $150. Yeah. You can list it. Dude, $150 to get, 200 phone calls a day. I mean,
I'm gonna do this.
what would, like, if you look at the flat fee MLS for dispo as like a PPC lead,
Yeah.
like how much do you pay for your PPC leads and acquisitions? Now for $150, you can list every property you want on there, and you're getting inbound calls from it.
Oh
Like
my
it's
goodness.
beautiful.
Oh my
It changes the dispo process.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And where'd you come up with this, man?
So my good friend Anthony, Q the closer, down in Orlando. We were locking up some rural deals a couple years ago, and I'm like, how the hell do you dispo a rural deal? There's no cash buyers out there. He's like, put it on the flat fee MLS. So he taught me, and we were doing that for our rural deals for a while. And then when the market shifted, everybody was selling to hedge funds and their VIPs, back when the market was banging. When the interest rates went up, all the hedge funds stopped buying, all my VIPs stopped buying, because these guys had 20, 30 properties they were waiting to sell on the MLS after their flips. So they're like, hey, I'm going to wait. I'm going to make sure I can sell all these properties before I buy anymore.
Right.
So we couldn't sell a deal for like a month or two. And I was like, shit.
For real?
How are we going to find buyers today? And I was like, well, we had this little nugget from Anthony. Like, what if we just put every property on there and see what happens? So we just started I just came into work one day. I was like, let's put every property on the MLS. And we did that, and they started selling like hotcakes. What happened was all of our big buyers stopped buying. And now, I mean, even to this day, we're selling to a lot of new investors. So when the market shifted and all these big buyers stopped buying, it gave opportunity to people trying to get into real estate. So before, these guys couldn't get any good deals. They were trying to buy deals on the MLS. They weren't on anybody's buyers list.
Makes sense.
They were getting outbid on everything from these big guys, So now, when the market shifted, it's all these smaller guys that are just trying to flip a couple houses, a year. And they're only using agents to find deals for them and not on anybody's buyers list. So once we started listing everything on the MLS, we started gaining these relationships with these agents that had newer investors. And the funny thing is, with a newer investor, they're paying more for the properties than your VIPs, right? These VIPs are beating you up.
Yep.
They're savvy. They want a fucking big spread on this thing. The new guys are like, well, shit, I'll pay that for it. I'm still going to make 20 grand on it,
Yeah.
So that's what we noticed. And still to this day, I mean, we still sell to a lot of new investors, and we're a year into doing this. And, it's a crazy time in real estate where, the big guys are not buying as much, and the small guys are starting to get opportunities, and you're only going to find them on the MLS because they're all using agents, So it's just been a win-win for everybody.
That makes a lot of sense, though.
Yeah.
Another question I had, because I don't do any virtual deals, but I would assume that this would be a problem, like, because the sellers are always like, it doesn't need that much work. So what about when you go and that house needs $20K in foundation, $10K in plumbing? Like, what happens there?
Yeah, so if we get the deal and we know that happens, right? Sellers lie, they might not know.
Yeah.
So we nip that in the bud in our office. So when the pictures come back, or say it's something we couldn't see in the photos and a buyer walks in and tells us all these problems, like we'll call that seller and get, at least get a soft reduction call out of it and be like, hey, this, that, and the other is wrong with this property. You didn't disclose that to us. I'm not saying you're lying, Mr. Seller. You probably didn't know about it either. But now that we know about it, our rehab cost is doubled. our numbers are probably not going to work. I'm going to try and make them work, but I doubt they're going to work. Is there a chance that, you're flexible on the price? You kind of get a temperature check. If they're like, go fuck yourself, all right, is this even a deal or should we just cancel it?
Yeah.
If they're like, no, I understand. What are you thinking? It's like, all right, let me get a few more partners into the property, crunch some numbers, and I'll call you in a week or two and give you a solid number we can be at. So we'll do a soft reduction call just to get a temperature check, make sure we can get that hard reduction call, because we want a hard reduction when we have a good offer, right? Because you can only get one reduction.
That's true. Like a solid offer.
Yeah. So sometimes we send that deal out for what we locked it up at if we know those are the numbers that work after that soft reduction call. So now, say we got an offer for what we locked it up for. Now I know I can go back to the seller and try and get them 20 grand under what we locked it up for, because I had that soft reduction call.
Yeah.
So that's typically how we do it. And it works really well. I mean, we do reductions all the time because we just weren't disclosed the true condition of the property.
Yeah. And how often does that happen?
It happens every month.
Like
I'd say I probably do 4 to 5 reduction calls a month.
Oh, it's not that bad.
But we're locking up 50 contracts or more a month,
50.
So yeah.
And how many of those do you sell?
So like if you take out all the title issues, the probate issues, the seller issues, the buyer issues, everything.
Like sellable deals.
Like sellable deals, we're dispoing like pretty much half of them.
About 25.
If I'm honest. Yeah.
That sounds about right.
25 to 30.
Yeah.
So it's a 50% cancellation, but shit, half of those 50% don't even make it to dispo because we find out something about the title or the deed ahead of time.
Oh, so you don't just lock it up and send it to dispo. You wait till you get title commitment?
No, we'll have like a, our TC will go in there and look up the deed and county records and make sure everything's on the up and up. So we do kind of like a preliminary title search in the office.
Oh, damn.
And if we see something funky or other people on the deed that need to sign that didn't sign or anything like that,
Really?
we'll know about it before it gets over to dispo.
So you have a title examiner in your office?
Yeah, I guess you could call it that. Yeah, it's not super in depth. She's just doing everything on county records and stuff and seeing if everything's up and up.
But that's still, a lot of companies don't have that.
Yeah, because the last thing I want is my dispo team working this thing for 2-3 weeks, and then we try to get to the closing table, and now it wasn't even a deal to begin with.
No, bro, that is a gem.
So we try to knock that out in the beginning.
Because I don't do that.
Yeah.
I get a deal. As soon as I get it, it goes to dispo.
Yeah.
And there's nothing more deflating than fucking selling a deal, and it's a 20 pop, right? And then
And it
like,
ain't shit.
oh, it ain't a deal.
It sucks.
Oh, shit.
And you're going to burn out your team.
Damn,
doing
that was another gym you just dropped
Yeah.
there. Well, damn it. Okay. I got some work to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
We all do.
All right. Because that's about right. Because we sell about half of our deals too. So, we'll lock up so many deals and we only sell so many deals. So, if you're watching this, you're in the game, you know what it is.
That's the nature of the beast.
Right. Nico, how much longer we got?
We probably have 5 more minutes.
How long is the podcast until? We've been going for a good while.
Oh, yeah. We can wrap it up.
You're at 52 minutes.
Oh, we're good. You want to wrap it up?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I'll wrap it up. We got 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay,
5
cool.
minutes or less. Yeah.
All right, cool. So man, we've been dropping a lot of gems. Sheesh, man. This is a very valuable podcast.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing this, man.
Yeah.
What is the future for TLC home buyers, man? What do y'all see yourselves doing?
I mean, ultimately, we want to exit the company. I mean, that's why we
you're
got
building to
into
sell?
this. Yeah, we want to sell the company, you know?
damn.
So, I mean, we want to build businesses to exit them for a big exit. That's our end goal. So we're just trying to structure it correctly to where we can ultimately do that. I don't know anybody that's ever done that in the industry, but we want to be the first one. So that's ultimately our goal. We have a lot of other stuff going on. I do a lot of education for dispo. You can follow me at the Tony Mont on Instagram. That's kind of, my focus outside of TLC home buyers is helping as many people as possible. That's why doing these podcasts for me is just as rewarding because I get to help people, right?
Okay, so they know where to find you at now. Guys, I got something for you. If you watched all the way through this podcast, I want you to drop a comment. Because we were just talking about it earlier. And, if you've been on my channel for a while, we used to do the Clutch Entrepreneurs episodes. And that's where we go to people's offices and do a show there. If y'all want to see that, drop the word Clutch Entrepreneurs, right? And we might make it happen. I'm not promising it, but we might make it happen. All All right, man. So, but is there a goal in mind for the company, like a per month goal is or something like that?
Yeah, dude, we want to hit $1 million a month in assignment fees. I mean, that's the goal. We're, in these 60 days we're in right now, we're in the middle of it. We're going to close 1.1 million in assignment fees. We want to do that every month. So that's our goal.
Damn, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, it is.
All right, so $1 million a month, guys. That's the goal. You heard it here first. There's not many companies that do that.
Right.
Do you know how many companies do that?
I don't know how many. I know some that do.
You're aware of a few?
Yeah. But
Okay.
we're definitely going to get there.
All right, guys. So there you go. You are watching a show and a business that they started from nothing, just him and his homie and one other person. And they're now on track to do $1 million a month in, what, 2.5 years?
2.5 years.
You've been doing it for 2.5 years. So, well, like you said, we ain't nothing special. You know, y'all guys know how I started. You just heard his story. We're nothing special, and that's why we do this show. So now I hope we gave you that inspiration that you needed. We hope we gave you that extra motivation. And any last words for them?
Stay clutch.
Hey, that's it for me, baby. Let's go. How's that us?